Yo guys, welcome back to another video. The official Winter 3-on-3 Cup just happened over here in Japan this past weekend, and there was no stream for it, so I'm sure a lot of you guys probably missed it, didn't even know it happened, or like weren't sure who won or anything. And I happened to be at the event, so I thought it might be a good idea to make a little video kind of recapping very quickly just how I did in my experience, but then going over the first and second place team, looking at the leaders they chose and talking about it a little bit. But that's it, so without any further ado, let's just jump right into it and let's get started. Alright, so yeah, we had the Winter 3-on-3 Cup. These happen basically like once a season, once every 3 to 4 months over here in Japan. And the 3-on-3s are my favorite type of event that I am able to go to over here. I know they don't really have them in the West. I think I saw they might be rolling out a 2-on-2 kind of like store 2-on-2 cup kind of thing in the West, so that would be really cool. Maybe something for you guys to look forward to. But yeah, this was fun. I went there. I got in with my team because it's like a lottery system, so you have to just apply and just pray that you get in. We got in, and I will go over all the leader I chose and my list and my teammates and everything too. But this was a really cool event. It was at Makuhari Messe, which is the big venue that's over in Chiba. It's not even in the Tokyo prefecture. This is where Worlds was held last year, so if you came to Worlds last year, this was the same area. I think it was a different building from what the main event was in last time, but still a really cool area. It's pretty far away. You have to go like all the way past Disney. The tournament was run really smoothly. Like Bandai in Japan is pretty smooth, I'm not gonna lie. They don't have a lot of hiccups. They don't really mess anything up. It's pretty clutch, pretty streamlined. Had a lot of fun. Went with 2 of my friends, obviously, and we had a great time. Alright, so we can quickly go over what my teammates and I did, and real quickly how I did on the day. I played Bonnie, and my 2 teammates played Lucci and Shanks. The reasoning for why we kind of chose this, we flip-flopped between a bunch of different stuff. I was basically always going to play Bonnie though, just because she's a solid 3-on-3 leader, and I had been playing it the most at the time, so it just seemed like a good solid pick. And she's really strong into stuff like Dofi and green purple Luffy, which are basically kind of the best 2 decks at the moment. And then my friends, we were gonna go with one of them was gonna play Teach. We were thinking about Usopp. Both of them were considering playing GP Luffy, but at the end of the day, we kind of just came up with this team that like kind of is winning against green purple Luffy, and losing against other stuff. Like we all kind of lose to Teach just based on our builds. Obviously Lucci's unfavored. My friend was doing a more KO Shanks build that's weaker into Teach, and my build had no 5-cost smoker. It was not very tech towards Teach, but we were predicting there not to be a lot of Teach, which we were correct. I don't think there was a lot of Teach there, but I was expecting a lot of Black and Enel. So I teched towards Black and Enel, and green purple Luffy and Dofi. So that's how I split my build up. But yeah, it was really fun. 2 of my friends, really good friends that I play with a lot out here. Shouts out to them. Thanks guys for a really fun day. But we went 2-3 and dropped. You can see over here our first game, I hit a Shanks and I lost the dice roll, which is like slightly unfavored matchup, and losing the dice roll on the first game of a 3-on-3 is like, okay, all right, let's just like dig in. I'll do my best. I did get a 9-cost Shanks, but I didn't draw any 10-cost Dofis, which kind of ended up hurting me a little bit. And my opponent got like double Rayleigh into double 10-cost Shanks and had multiple Lucky Roos throughout the game, so it made it really hard for me to get into his life. And obviously double Rayleigh into double Shanks is incredibly hard for Bonnie to deal with, so it still was a really close game. If they didn't get their second 10-cost Shanks, I would have been able to go for lethal, or like my lethal would have gone through because I would have had the extra 1k on my characters. But you know, I don't want to get into all the what ifs and complaining and stuff. A little unfortunate. There were probably a few turns or small things I could have done better, so I'm not going to try and just blame it on him drawing the top end and stuff. And then my friend on Shanks was against Lucci, so that was terrible. And then my friend on Lucci hit GP Luffy and lost to Luna Trigger out of Last Life that rested his 9-cost Kaido that could have gone for game. So we were off to a terrible start where me and my Shanks teammate got like unfavored matchups, and then my friend on Lucci, 50-50, slightly favored against GP Luffy, loses to a Luna Trigger. So terrible, terrible, terrible start, and just like kind of like demoralizing and like demotivating. We were just like, oh my god. Round 2, my opponent sits down, flips over Black Smoker. I'm just like, okay, shit. I'll try my best. I know how to play to my outs against Black, and I'm slightly teched for it, so I'm thinking I'd be okay. But it was bad. I drew Hawkins and 1 Dofi, but it just wasn't enough because they had a good curve, and they drew 4 Rebecca's, and it was crazy because you'd think the Kuzan or the Jack or the Morias would have been the problem, but it really was the 4 Rebecca's because they were able to just get endless resources and have a chump blocker every single turn late game. So like they won with 2 life still. There was nothing I could do, and I didn't have a Hody, so it didn't matter. Next round was Dofi. Really close game. Luckily I saw they red rocked my 8-cost kid and it played 9-cost Mihawk afterwards, which was really scary. But luckily I had 2 10-cost Dofis to clutch out the game in the end. And then I had a Lucci, which I was a little worried about, but like I practiced the Black matchups a lot, and I was able to just get Carrot to stun their Brook, and then I got a Hawkins, and then I got like a solid 8-cost kid, strong board up, and they just didn't have the enough KO power early game. They missed 1 turn of not KOing my Carrot, and I think that just snowballed and let me win the game. And then against Ploofy, our last round before we dropped, I lose the dice roll, so I'm going second, already off to a slightly bad start. I opened a hand that was like Cavendish and Carrot and 10-cost Dofi, and I was like, I could maybe mulligan for Kid, but this is a really good hand, so I should probably keep it. In hindsight, I think if you lose the dice roll against Ploofy as Bonnie, just mulligan for 8-cost Kid, because I think if they full move you, like if they get perfect curve, you're gonna struggle, and you need the 8-cost kid. If you get 8-cost kid, even if they do perfect curve, you can still win, right? But so that was my mistake from the start. And then I played a Carrot, and I was anticipating. I played a Carrot on 6, and and by the way, he got perfect curve. He hit Law, Zorojuro, Luffy Taro into Sangoro, and then 2 9-cost moms. And I was expecting him to maybe play Sanji and swing over, and then maybe play 9-cost mom after. And I was hoping I could like get a Tashigi down, like draw and put a Tashigi down and try and like protect that. But no, he just went straight into 9-mom into 9-mom on my Carrot and then Cavendish, and I didn't have the Tashigi to protect them. So off to a bad start, and then I tried to just wall up one. I didn't draw my Kid or a Bonnie Searcher, and I tried to wall up at the very end. And I had a 2-cost Rosie on the board. I swing 6k with leader because I'm going to play a Hawkins and another Rosie. And I'm like, okay, I might survive this next turn. And the dude just plays Nora Beam Sword, and I'm just like, oh my god. He rested my Rosie, and I'm like, okay, maybe 2 blockers will still do it. He has like 2 9-moms and like Luffy Taro and Sangoro on the board. And he just plays 7-cost Sanji. Rest my Hawkins, and I'm like, all right, GG's, bro. So yeah, that sucked. I'm not gonna lie. That one was like the most frustrating, just because I probably should have mulliganed, and then like I don't know, I just couldn't read. I didn't read what my opponent was gonna do properly, and like, bro, Nora Beam Sword, come on. But yeah, just unfortunate. So we dropped out, 2-3 dropped out. But hey man, these 3-on-3s, there were so many players. It's like over 1,000 teams. So like, I don't know, it was like 2,000 or 3,000 people at this event, like participating just in the 3-on-3. And then we had flagship EXs going on, and then the matching battle, as you can see. These are like the gunslinger side event things, I think is what you call them in the West. But I got my 3 wins, got the prizing for that and stuff. I borrowed my friend's GP Luffy deck at the end to play a Katakuri, who got Kikunojo into Sanji into Brûlé trigger out of their like last 3 lives. I was just like, okay, well, guess I'll die. But had a great time. It was really fun. Shout out to my teammates. These tournaments are huge. They're incredibly difficult. The skill level there is pretty good. You know, you just have to hope you like, honestly, because there's people who go in with teams of like some of the best players in the entire world, in my opinion. And if you get some bad matchups and stuff, like, you lose. I saw other teams that like have players way better than me that went like similarly like 2-3 drop or even worse, which always makes me feel good, because it's like, okay, that just means like the skill level is really high, and a lot of it is sort of dependent on matchup luck, which is like kind of bad, but also like makes you feel like not too bad about it at the end of the day. But there's definitely a lot of places I know where I need to improve on, and I tried to reflect as much as I could on my games. And there's a few things I would probably change about my list, but I'm not really sure. Speaking of my list though, this is my list. As you can see, I teched for essentially like black matchup with Hawkins and Dofi, and then GP Luffy and Dofi with the like 8-cost Kid and the 10-cost Dofi. And then I have just 3 9-cost Shanks for stuff, like if I do hit a red Shanks. He's still just really strong into a lot of matchups. And then you can see the 2 Arouge. I ended up playing Arouge recently for a locals and won. And it was really clutch against a Reiju and a green-purple Luffy that I hit. And I think Reiju is really strong against Pluffy and green-purple Luffy. So he's a very strong option that you can consider in the EBO2 format. I'm not sure if I would consider him in OP10 just because Dofi will still be much more represented. And late game, he's not strong against Dofi at all because they can just loop 4-cost laws with Teach. Early game, if they want to spend the resources to bounce your Arouge back, it's like it doesn't matter that much. But late game, it's just so easy for them to get around that I'm not sure if it's worth it. And then you can see I have like the 3 6-cost Hawkins. This is also for Enel. Like this list, I consider to be winning against Enel and very close to 50-50 against like Lucci and Smoker if we can just see the right cards. But unfortunately, like we need Tashigi, which is unsearchable. We can search out Hawkins, which is really strong, but we don't have like a baby 5 searcher in here either. So we kind of need to draw into our Tashigis and our 10-cost Dofis, and if we don't, we are in a little bit of a pickle. But yeah, this is my list. Feel free to like reference it, but please keep in mind this is a 3-on-3, and I'm not running 5-cost Smoker because it was just too much counterless, and I was valuing 6-cost Hawkins over Smoker at the time. But if I was doing a one-on-one like a solo tournament, I would find a way to put 5-cost Smoker back in there at least 2, which is what I was running before. And then I would shift some of the ratios around and maybe try and throw in 7-cost Bonnie. I'm already planning for OP11 at the moment, so I won't be really playing in any other EBO2 tournaments or anything. So this was basically my last like big tournament that I was in for EBO2. No regrets though. I think it was a strong list. If you know, this is one of those lists where it's like you can search out most of your key cards, and then if you draw into the other ones that you need, I think you can kind of take on almost any deck. I threw away the Teach matchup. I wasn't trying to if I hit a Teach, it was just like try my best with stuff like Hody and Hawkins maybe, but I kind of just threw that matchup away because we weren't expecting a lot, and we were correct. There was not a lot of Teaches there. There was a lot more Shanks, red Shanks, than I was expecting, so that was a little unfortunate. But yeah, there was not as much Enel. I guess we guessed correctly on Teach, but we kind of guessed wrong on Enel, so that was interesting. But yeah, this is my list, and let's move on to the winning teams. All right, second place team. It was a green-purple Luffy, a black-yellow Luffy, and a blue Dofi. Honestly, not much to say about these lists. These are very close to just like the standard lists that are being played right now. No crazy techs, and I think it's just like, look, they took essentially the 2 strongest decks in Dofi and GP Luffy, and just a really strong like third pick where BY is like kind of coming back up in the meta, because I think people are saying it has a great matchup in a GP Luffy, but I've also heard friends that I have friends that play BY that are saying like, nah, if the GP Luffy player like knows the matchup and knows how to swing and when to swing, it's not really favored for BY. So I could kind of see it going either way. Maybe it's 50-50, but in my mind, I think GP just beats BY, but I could be wrong. So they're running the 2-cost Chopper blocker, which I'm not a big fan of in this deck, but he can be very solid for just getting the chump blocker out there and ramping the Rested Dawn. I do like the Frankie. I'm kind of like Frankie. And then everything else is pretty standard. It's got the ton of events. You might notice there's only 8 2K counters, right? Yeah. The current GP Luffy lists run like so little counter, it's crazy. 8 2K counters, 4 giants, and 2 0-costs. And you're kind of just relying on the giants to like cycle out your counter list and draw into hopefully the other counter that you need. But it's kind of crazy. This is why stuff like green is so strong against GP Luffy, because if you can rest their Dawn and they don't get the cycle with giant, like I've gone in for lethal recently at a locals. My opponent had like 8 or 9 cards in hand, and like a 10k got through and I won. And I was so shocked. I was like, wait, what? Because I rested their Dawn with Hody. So Yeah, definitely a weakness there, but this is a very GP Luffy is one of the strongest decks in the entire format right now. Really, really strong. Definitely tier 1 in my opinion. This BY Luffy list, nothing too crazy. They do have the 2 Thunderbolt Sabos and the 2 Beige to kind of like help set up leader effect. They have the 1 Ice Age, a little spicy Ice Age, and 2 Raigos, so kind of like hedging their bets. This is the 2-cost Hiyori, the other alt art, by the way, in case you were wondering. Yeah, nothing crazy here. It's just BY. I don't think there's anything I really need to say about BY. The Dofi list is very standard as well. They're only running 2 Jozu, so maybe 1 less than you might have seen throughout like OP9, OP10. A lot of people, I think, ran him at 3. And 2 Puddings, very standard too. Nothing to really talk about. It's Dofi. Alright, and the first place team. They were Green Purple Luffy, Dofi, and Teach. So two of the 3 leaders are the same, right? And this person's Luffy list is a little bit different, so I think we could at least talk about that. They're running the Frenosuke and the Usopp, which is interesting. So instead of the 4-cost Zoros, they're running the Usopp, and I would imagine it's probably to help in the mirror because you have another 6k body on the board. I'm not necessarily sure, but I like this. If I was going to play this deck, I would play a list more like this where you have 10 2ks. I kind of just... I think having more than 8 2ks is probably necessary. Otherwise, you get caught with your pants down with this deck if you only run 8 2ks. But they're running 2 of the 3-cost Robin. That's this card right here, which I am a big fan of. I like it over Chopper. I don't really like Chopper in that deck. The Usopp is interesting. I actually kind of like this tech, and yeah, everything else is basically the same though. 4 Lunas, 4 the Search, 4 Giants, 2 0-cost. Yeah. And I wonder if having the more counter actually came into play here for them winning. You know, maybe he just had a little bit more of a easy time like defending his life and stuff throughout the day. The Dofi list, the only thing I can see here is they're only running 1 Jozu, and they opted for the 2-2 of the Perfume and the Gravity Blade. Like, that's it. That's the only other thing I can say. And then Teach. This was interesting. Makes sense though, like especially if you choose the 2 other strongest decks, then you go with what is potentially, I don't know, it's hard to say. Like right now, I don't even know if I would call Teach the 3rd strongest deck, but he's in the top 5 for sure. And you can see he's not recently. Teaches have been teching more for GP Luffy by running things like Laboon again, or even putting in Ice Age, and this person did not. I think they were just like, okay, I'm just gonna play the most consistent build that I can. We're doing 3 liberations like we have been for OP10, so that maybe they can win against Dofi if they hit a Dofi. But yeah, just a really standard, solid Teach build. So congrats to these 2 teams. But yeah, these tournaments are crazy. Huge shout outs to them. Like winning that is so hard, so difficult, and must have been really felt good. Must have been rewarding to win that one. But what are you excited to play in the EBO2 format? Do you wish you had more 3-on-3s and stuff like that? Are you excited about the 2-on-2 format that might be coming to the West that I kind of heard about? What do you think about these leaders? Are you surprised that Black Yellow Luffy and Teach and Dofi were in the winning lists, like the winning teams? I do want to say though, there was a lot of other leaders and stuff out there today, or out there this weekend, and it's not surprising that those teams won, but I do want to say that I think there's so many other leaders and so many other teams that could have won this, that I wouldn't be worried. If you see this, don't look at this and be like, oh man, like nothing changes, it's just Black Yellow Luffy. Black Yellow Luffy's not that present in the meta. Even Teach has gone down a little bit. But yeah, this is a 3-on-3 format, so things are a little bit different. Lists are different. You tech for things differently, and there's just a lot that goes into it that's not just your standard like solo 1v1 tournament. So please keep that in mind. But yeah, that's it. Thanks for watching. I really appreciate it. If you liked the video, please consider liking and subscribing to the channel. And you can catch me playing Twitch 2 to 3 times a week over there at Twitch at Fidelio TCG. And yeah, I appreciate you guys for watching, and I'll catch you in the next one. Peace.